I also want to be fair to Easy Blur because I feel like a lot of the comments there are not fair to the product. Just because it comes in plastic does not mean that it is less luxurious, that the product, that the formula is anything wrong with the formula.
So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Huda Beauty Easy Blur. Now I picked up mine in the shade Cashew. I have been testing this one out for at least 2 weeks now, and I wanted to wait to give you guys my final thoughts on this one, especially because a lot of controversy and back and forth have been going on a lot with this particular foundation, and I wanted to talk about my personal experience with the way it wears on me, what I like about the formula, what I don't like about the formula, and then also this kind of newer conversation we've been getting into about packaging and what makes a luxury product a luxury product. So I hope that you guys enjoy the video. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Amanda. Something that you should know about me is that I am a formula girl through and through. I want an absolutely exceptional formula, and I have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on makeup. And at this point, formula for me is and will always be number one. So if you align with that, I would absolutely love to have you back. So make sure to subscribe. So Huda Beauty really made a splash with this foundation because they immediately started talking about how they are not using filters for the campaign, and they do not use filters because with this foundation, you don't need one. Personally, as someone that does like a nice medium coverage, I'm not afraid of coverage when it comes to foundation products. And I need a blur. Like, I think what is missing from a lot of foundations at this point on the market, especially when a lot of like skin tints and foundations all start to feel the same, when a foundation can make the actual quality of your skin look better, that is when you know that you have something special. So it's really about the foundation not appearing heavy on the skin while also giving beautiful coverage and blur. By the way, this comes in 30 shades. It retails for $37. You get 1 ounce of product. And right off the bat, should we just get into like the packaging controversy before we really talk about my thoughts about the formula? There were a lot of folks over on TikTok immediately talking about how the packaging just doesn't feel as luxe as some other Huda Beauty products have, that you don't get a lot of product. Some people have been talking about how this is 1 ounce of product and that's not a lot. That's very standard. It's way more important to take a step back, look at the big picture, and really figure out where this discourse is coming from, where the negative feedback is coming from. And that really is exactly what Huda Beauty did. And I, for me personally, I really have to take my hat off to her and her team. I think it was such a great idea to come from a really grounded place, in a place of education.
Why is there so much controversy around the packaging? A lot of people have been saying, oh, we spent on formula instead of pack. Some people are saying that this was a budget product. Hi, my loves. I wanted to come on here really quickly today to discuss some things around Easy Blur because it's been really exciting to see all the excitement and momentum and so many people talking about it online. Foundation is like a really big deal. It is like the number one category in makeup. And I personally never felt like we would ever be able to have a foundation that can be taken so seriously because it's always like for the big companies, not for the smaller companies. And I just want to say thank you to all of you from the bottom of my heart for just being so amazing and for giving Easy Blur the attention, the love, the support. It really means so much. So I want to talk about packaging. I was thinking to myself, why is there so much controversy around the packaging? Like, it's a pretty standard pack. A lot of products, not only Huda Beauty and not just drugstore products. I saw some people comparing it to like some drugstore products. By the way, all of them are amazing brands. Like, all of them have some great products. But some people are saying that this was a budget product. One thing I want to say first and foremost is the standard fill size for foundation is 30 ml. So all of these foundations, despite their size, are 30 ml. All of these foundations are also 30 ml. Now, the size impression on plastic sometimes can be a little bit smaller. And I hear you guys loud and clear. Me and my team, we're going to work harder to make the pack more beautiful. But I also want to be fair to Easy Blur because I feel like a lot of the comments there are not fair to the product. Just because it comes in plastic does not mean that it is less luxurious, that the product, that the formula is anything wrong with the formula. The formula is so beautiful in this. And I know a lot of people have been commenting on that. I'm telling you guys right now, just because you put a product in a glass pack does not mean that, you have to charge 20, sometimes $30 more, because a glass packaging does not cost $20, $15, $10 even. It doesn't cost that. That's not the price difference between plastic and glass. But the feel, the impression is that it's expensive. And this is why brands can charge more money. Personally, for me, it's very, very heavy. And I don't like traveling with a makeup product that is glass. That's me personally. I can pull so many different packs where they are made out of plastic. They are made out of pretty inexpensive, but light. A lot of brands sometimes go for this on purpose. They want that light packaging on purpose. This is the Chanel Perfection Lumiere Velvet. They also had the Vita Lumiere, which actually, I love that packaging. That was originally the inspiration. I love the Chanel Vita Lumiere, and it's 30 ml and it's $60. This is $37. And these are the Viral Drunk Elephant bronzing drops. This is $38, so just $1 more than our foundation. A lot of people saying that they can't afford the products and they wish that they could. It was a real argument with me and the team on the pricing. I wanted to put this at $35. They were like, absolutely not. It needs to start with a 4. They wanted to go in the high 40s, and then we settled at $37. I wanted to address these comments earlier, but there were so many more coming in, so I just wanted to make sure I could address as many as possible. I'm so happy that so many people out there love it. I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate that. Please let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. I'm happy to answer anything.
I think that education and transparency will always beat out defensiveness with a makeup brand. I think there are a couple of things happening in this video, and that's why I wanted to acknowledge this discourse in this video, because typically I wouldn't, but I think it's a really interesting conversation, and I think it's good to reflect on as a whole what we truly value when it comes to makeup. And we'll get to that value piece in a second, because I think that it is incredibly, incredibly important when making any purchasing decision. And something I applaud their team for is focusing on getting a good shade range out and getting a formula that they feel really confident in out the door at a price that they liked. She made that very clear in the video that she wanted to focus on the formulation and the price point. And to me, it makes sense that naturally they would go for packaging like this. This is going to be cheaper than glass. And she did also mention something that I think is kind of interesting, is that of course you don't need to charge $10 or $20 more for a foundation because it has glass, but it does cost more money to ship heavy glass. And I think at the end of the day, if we're being honest, this packaging did not take a long time to develop, and the component itself could not have been very expensive at all. And it is pretty generic. She does go on to mentioning so many other luxury products that charge a lot more than they do for a formula in packaging similar to this. She even called out Vita Lumiere from Chanel. I don't know about you guys. At the end of the day, Chanel can really rest on their name because they have been around for so long, and they've also been making luxury beauty for so long. They're not even necessarily like Valentino, which is pretty new to the luxury beauty scene, which I feel like, if Valentino came out with packaging similar to this, people would be immediately critical just because they haven't been out for so long, making a name for themselves in the beauty industry. But I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that Vita Lumiere, because of the font specifically and the logo, I think it looks more expensive than the Huda Beauty. And this is me not attacking Huda Beauty whatsoever. We all have different first impressions of brands and what feels luxurious to us. So again, like the Vita Lumiere packaging feels way more luxe to me because it's very, very stripped down. I think that typography tends to look more classic than something like the Huda Beauty. This packaging feels more young, which I associate with not as luxury. A lot of these things are very like subconscious. We all have like very subconscious impressions when we are buying products. So I don't like to immediately attack the consumer for giving Huda Beauty feedback saying that this feels cheap because when they're spending $37 on a foundation, when again, already so many people have to really make sure that their makeup purchase is going to work for them. So to me, I think feedback that the packaging looks a little bit cheap is somewhat warranted because it's also something that's very personal. And I think that when we're talking about this kind of discourse, it's really important that we understand that when someone is paying $37, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting it to feel a little bit more luxurious in the packaging. However, on the flip side, something that I really relate to and like common comments that I see come up when talking about this packaging is that it is just so much easier to travel with something like this. Plastic is cheaper in general to make, so it actually helped them, I'm sure, get to that $37 price point, which who'd have mentioned that the company didn't want to get there. They wanted to get to like high 40s and she really wanted it to come down lower, which ultimately is what it's about, right? Like trying to get the consumer the best price possible. At least you would hope. You would hope that. The product is made in Italy, which Italy is known for creating really great cosmetics. I see a lot of feedback also from makeup artists saying this is going to be way easier to have in my makeup kit than any sort of glass foundation would be. It's very hygienic. You have the squeezy tube on top, which again makes it a lot easier to distribute like just the right amount of product. But I kind of want to zoom back for a second and show you two different packaging. So here is the Easy Blur from Huda Beauty over here. And here is the Eavesdrop from Fenty. Again, so much of this is subjective. And honestly, I just think it's really fun to talk about and really like dig into our subconscious about like, what we feel is luxury or what we want to be present in our makeup products. I think it's really fun because it's so different with everyone and that's the beautiful part about makeup. But for me, the Fenty one doesn't necessarily feel more luxurious, but it does feel a little bit more special. It feels more unique. And I think that ultimately the consumer isn't necessarily asking for a luxurious sort of packaging experience. I think what people are actually giving feedback to Huda Beauty about is that they want the packaging to feel more special. They don't want it to feel like it just came straight off of the factory line. And in any case, this does feel that way to me. I think Huda Beauty kind of understood that and responded to that feedback in such a beautiful way. She is so open to receiving that and saying like, "I want for it to feel more special." And she's really smart for like understanding that this isn't necessarily a conversation about whether or not this feels luxurious. It's does it feel special? No, it feels incredibly generic. And that's why I would go back and say again, Huda Beauty Easy Blur right here and the Fenty feels, I think, to me, way more custom at least. And people are looking for a custom experience. I just filmed with the NYX The Face Glue Gripping Primer. And if that video is not already up, make sure you're subscribed for it. People want a unique experience when they get the product into their hand. And this is giving you a unique experience. Is it going to be a good formula? That is always up for debate. But I think that we don't have to just get one anymore with so many makeup products out there. I don't blame people for asking for more and wanting a unique experience and a unique formula. However, I think it's good to kind of cut brands a little bit of slack. Huda Beauty is clearly saying here that they could make the $37 price point work because of this packaging. And they're not, being outright and what the margins are on this one. But the transparency does make me way more likely to trust them. And I do think that they are trying here. And that makes me really like the brand. It's very likable. Education piece without coming off snide. Like that to me it makes me so much more comfortable and likely to purchase another Huda Beauty product, honestly. And that is when we get to the discussion about values. So values in makeup, this is why I go back and say this over and over again. When you're looking for new makeup, when you're shopping for new makeup, when you're building your makeup bag, going back to your makeup non-negotiables and your makeup values is huge. And really, this is a larger discussion, I think, about deciding and really curating your makeup bag to fit exactly what you are ultimately looking for. So, for example, if you are looking for a truly luxurious experience, when you hold the product, it feels weighty, nothing is kind of screen printed on the way that this kind of seems to be, really nice engravement. If you want that luxury experience to start from the packaging and follow through within the formula, I mean, I hate to be the one to state the obvious, but I don't see a problem with that. Like, it's your money, and I think that everyone values something a little bit different in their makeup bag. So let me give you guys an example of what are some of my non-negotiables when it comes to certain makeup items. So let's just use this because I was just talking about it. This is the Kosas Cloud Set Powder. For me, in a pressed powder, I need it to look so uber thin on the skin. If it looks dry at all, I do not want it on my face. I would rather not wear powder. Those aspects of the powder matter number one to me, and I do not care about anything else. Because for me, I am so picky that if I find a powder with a beautiful formula, I just don't care about how it's packaged. And at some point, I will spend a lot of money. I mean, I bought the Givenchy powder. I absolutely love it. We got to get into that eventually, you guys, about the reformulation and my quest to find something to replace it. I mean, this is not doing a half bad job, I'll tell you that. But ultimately, this powder, it could be packaged in anything, and I would still absolutely love the formula. Formula, for me and my makeup values, is absolutely paramount and is absolutely king. And in my reviews, I will mention that I don't like the packaging. I will mention that it should feel more luxurious. But if I like the formula and the packaging isn't like completely faulty, I will probably buy it again. At the same time, we can't impose our makeup values onto other people. And if someone doesn't want to look at this kind of packaging when they open their makeup bag every day, I'm sorry to be that person. I just don't, that's okay to me. I've been reviewing makeup for so long. I mean, going on 8 years now, and I just don't, I don't know. I just don't think it's my business what people's makeup preferences are because it's not my money. Like, my job is to give you guys as much detail as possible so that you can ultimately make the purchasing decision that makes the best sense for you. And like, if I came on here and said, I think this packaging looks kind of cheap, I think that that would kind of be a good note to make for some people. And it's not one that I think we necessarily need to judge. And I think it goes the other way too. Like, for me, I'm never going to care about the packaging as much as I am about the formula because, I mean, I don't know. I could like try and show you what my makeup bag looks like right now. It's just never, it's just never super pretty. I try to make it pretty for you guys. Formulation is what makes makeup super, super exciting for me. Really beautiful, innovative, luxurious formulas. And I love packaging. Like, I love beautiful packaging. And ultimately, that is not to be understated that it really can sway people to purchase your product or not. Good packaging is maybe at like the fourth spot, and there are a few more things at the top of my list before that. Formula. Where, how did I lose the foundation already? Which brings me to this formula. We're finally getting into the review, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you actually enjoyed the more general conversation about like, you know, the more makeup talk, because I love talking about why brands make the choices that they do. I think it's very interesting. Makeup marketing in general, I think is super interesting. But I'm a formula person, like I just said. So what do I think about this formula? One, it is incredibly, incredibly thin. You need very little to get pretty immediate medium coverage with this one. It glides on incredibly easily as well. There's such a slip to the product, and I think that does come from the fact that this is more silicone rich in general. I mean, it's called Easy Blur. I was kind of expecting that from this foundation, for it to have more slip, for it to be a little bit more silicone rich. I don't think I expected for this to have the spread that it does. And I've been noticing more and more that foundations that can offer a lot of coverage in a small amount, but also has like a lot of spread. I see a lot more brands coming out with products like that because visually they're very appealing. And from like an application standpoint in general, it feels really nice to be able to get a lot of coverage very quickly in like a very smooth kind of fashion. And I think, ultimately, Huda has done an incredible job delivering a very blurring, high coverage formula with a very thin texture. Now, a lot of people have been talking about whether or not this is super lightweight or not. I don't think that this is incredibly lightweight, but I think that the product itself is thin. And, that is really going to depend ultimately on how the product finally lays on the skin. Some products with more coverage just tend to be more visible on the skin. I don't think this is a very creamy, heavy, I can feel it on my face product whatsoever. Some people have given feedback that says that. For me, my personal feedback is that it doesn't feel very heavy on the skin, but I could definitely see someone feeling that this is makeup-y. And that gets me into the actual performance of the foundation. Going on immediately, it looks really nice. It's very, very blurring. I love the coverage. I mean, honestly, I am like a medium coverage girl through and through. I would definitely say you could get up to a full coverage and like build this up in spots. I tend to not do that, but I can understand why so many people are really excited about this amount of coverage. Here's the thing though. For me personally, as someone with more dry skin, I immediately noticed as I started to test this one that in any problem areas where I typically get like any sort of issue, this is going to be slightly problematic. So around my nose, I definitely have had issues in the past with this clinging, with it settling into my nose, and it's just not my favorite thing, unfortunately, with this foundation, and I do notice it. I also notice it slightly with my chin as well. When I'm talking, eventually I notice a little crease and the foundation kind of sits in there. It makes me definitely not want to recommend this one for someone with more mature skin. I think that there are other options that can give you a blur and some nice coverage that might get along with your skin a little bit better. The folks that are getting a really nice finish with this foundation that aren't experiencing any of the breakup of the foundation or it looking really heavy on their skin, I think these are folks that also really like the Fenty Eavesdrop. Because this is, for me, is like the higher pigment version of the Fenty Eavesdrop. Like if the Fenty Eavesdrop is a skin tint, this is the foundation version of that. And listen, I had like pretty much the same experience with the Fenty Eavesdrop. Like that kind of rough around the edges kind of feel and like my nose. Something to maybe note though is that my experience with the Easy Blur pretty dramatically got better when I started using my Merit Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. And this has been pretty consistent. When I'm dealing with a lot of dryness on my skin, or, perceived dryness once I actually put foundation on top, typically, if I go back in with something really dewy and rich like Glossier Future Dew, or Merit Great Skin, or my Ilia Face Base Milk, if I really prep my skin well, it will definitely help with any of the creasing and crumbling around the nose, any of the settling into fine lines around the chin. So do I like this one from Huda Beauty? The longer I wear it, the more I come to appreciate it, and I know how I can make it work now. I need special prep with this one, or else it's not going to work. However, there are other products in my collection, other foundations that I do not need those special prep products in order for it to look beautiful at the end of the day. I don't think it's a bad formula. I understand why a lot of people like it, but I don't think that this is necessarily geared towards me. We're dealing with a little bit of a deal breaker kind of situation. I also love and value my products not being fussy, and this tends to be a little bit fussier on my skin. So that is my personal experience. Those are all of my thoughts, so that ultimately, you guys can decide if this actually makes sense for you. But I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. I would love to have you back, so make sure to subscribe. And I will see you all in my next one.